guy's silky. Yes, welcome back. Chicago Hockey Radio, Monday morning. Justin Lynch on Zoom. I'm Lee Grossman. Tassos Kirkos on the ones and twos today yet again. Good show for you guys today. We also have got some good news as well. We are going to be live streaming the games on Tuesday and Thursday and probably Saturday this week. So trying to get in as many as we can before the end of the season. The Blackhawks have, 5 games left? So trying to do as much as possible. If you have not yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. Those two are probably the most important to us. But also like this video. Give us 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. All that stuff really, 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 really helps us. And so we appreciate you if you do those things. Justin, how are you feeling today, my brother?
Very good to start this new week here. I think I feel a lot better after Hawks wins, right? They don't come very often, but when they do, they're very nice. So definitely a good game last night. Even Friday too. Like we lost that game, but the vibes were strong, right? A good game. Saw Ovi make history. Saw him make more history last night. We'll get into that more in the NHL hour of the show. But no, I think a good weekend for the Hawks. Good weekend for sports in general. And yeah, ready to start a new week here. Only 5 games left, as you said. We're definitely in the home stretch here, which is definitely hard to believe how fast this season has flown by. I don't know about you, but I feel like doing this show, like the season's gone by a lot quicker than the past, which is kind of weird because like at times I feel like some of the games and stuff, like yes, we're parsing more into them, getting more in depth, but it kind of seems to make it flow a lot faster. So it's like this season's just been kind of like a snap of the fingers, man. It's just flown by. But kind of I don't know if you felt that same sensation as me.
I have too. Yeah, I think it's just because I don't know. I think it's because we're really busy and we're like doing a lot of every single one of us is doing a lot right now, and so yeah, I think time flies by when you're not sitting around doing nothing very often,
Exactly. Time flies when you're having fun too. I think it's a good thing. So yeah.
Very true. But yeah, as you mentioned, some historical events took place this weekend. Sam Rinzel and Oliver Moore both had their first career NHL points, and Alexander Ovechkin broke Wayne Gretzky's goal record.
Yeah, that happened too, I guess.
Pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Before we get into anything, Tassos, how are you doing? How are you feeling in your little producer chair over there? I'm freezing, good. By the way. That's why I have a coat on.
I was gonna say, it looks like you're in Antarctica over there.
It is a little chilly in the studio today. No, I think we'll talk about Ovechkin more in the NHL hour for sure, but maybe just like a quick thought on it because I did think it was outstanding and maybe the larger part of the larger conversation we have in the NHL hour could be like, will we see this happen again? But like, I don't know personally that I'm going to see this happen again in my lifetime. Like maybe I will, maybe I won't. And that was a lot of fun to watch. Like that was a really cool couple of games. It was really fun that one of them was against the Chicago Blackhawks and, the tying goal, the fact that it was 2 separate events, that he did it on the road, like it was cool.
Yeah.
It was all fun.
Yeah. I think it worked out nicely for the NHL too. Like beginning of the weekend there, Friday night to tie the record, then Sunday afternoon matinee break. I think it worked out perfectly. You kind of got to celebrate both occasions there, tying the record and breaking it. And I'm just glad the game-breaking goal there was like a nice one too. Like that was the most Alex Ovechkin-esque goal of all time. Just an absolute rip from the top of the circle. I'm glad it didn't just like go off the shins or like a rebound or a tip or something. Like that was a nice goal too to really just hammer it home there. The celebration topped it off. Like I don't think you could have scripted a more perfect like ending than that. Like I think it worked out perfectly. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think it was awesome that it was such a sweet goal and like the celebration was, I mean, some of those pictures are going to be, in history books,
iconic.
Absolutely iconic. So yeah, perfect weekend and a perfect situation for him to do it. And I think because it wasn't an empty net goal and it was such a sweet goal, it's getting shared around so much. Obviously a monumental moment for the sport, but to see all this like mainstream coverage of it has been insane. Like I follow this account Rap, which I mean, I'm sure a bunch of you guys follow it too. Like the Rap account fucking posted Ovi breaking the record. So it's awesome for the game of hockey. We talked about it like after the Four Nations. It was like this could be a perfect year for the growth of the sport and the NHL, with the Four Nations being as amazing as it was, hopefully Ovi breaking the record before playoffs, and then what is hopefully going to be an awesome playoffs here. So yeah, I just think it was great for the sport.
Absolutely. It sets up the playoffs perfectly here, where it looks like we're setting the table here for, I think, what could be an historic playoff run here. We'll get into that more than NHL are, but it really feels like this year could be an absolute banger for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Blackhawks played on Friday against the Capitals. Obviously, that was the night one of Ovi's celebration, tying the record. He scored 2, decided he did not want the empty net. It was a couple of days ago. It's not exactly fresh, but now that we're a couple days removed, it was an okay game. Obviously, as good as a 5-3 loss could be. Cool for us to see Ovi, reach that milestone, but also more importantly, Oliver Moore, 2 points. How do you feel about it?
Exactly. Yeah, not just Oliver Moore, Frank Nazar, Landon Slaggert also had multi-point games. Yeah. So I think the fact that you're having 3 kids there that are going to be part of this Hawks future, this Hawks youth movement for years to come here, all have good games. I think that's what you want to see in a loss, right? And yeah, like it's a 5-3 loss, but it's also a 5-3 loss to what could be the President's Trophy winning Washington Capitals here. So it's like, and they took it to them. I think for most of that game, they were the better team. The third period there, things kind of went away. Obviously, gave up a couple power plays, and Ovi took over there. He could have easily broken the record that day, but was just so humble. He didn't want to do an empty net. He didn't want to do it against the Blackhawks, clearly, right? He already had enough milestone goals against the Blackhawks. So very nice Ovechkin there. But no, I think for the Hawks' perspective, like despite the loss, it was about as good of a game as you could expect from a loss. Like we've seen a lot of blown leads this season, especially in the third period. So it would look like there was nothing new there, but I thought they had a pretty good effort. Wasn't really too upset after that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. Tassos, did you have any thoughts you wanted to get off your chest? Because I didn't get to watch that game. I obviously saw highlights, and then I watched your guys' post game. But I don't know if Tassos, there was anything you didn't get off your chest on Friday night that you wanted to say now.
No, but I will say something that I did. I'll say something again that I said on the post game. In that, that was a really big moment in hockey. Like that was a big moment this season, that hockey game, and it just so happened to feature the Chicago Blackhawks. And yeah, you could have definitely seen a young team with a bunch of players like really just starting to cut their teeth in the NHL, maybe not be able to meet that moment. And I thought the Hawks played well for 2 periods of hockey, which is good, and it kind of got away from them in the third, like a lot of games. But the whole Ovi thing, and like that, it was just like such a big moment for them, and it felt like a playoff game. I told Justin almost, and I don't know that the Blackhawks have had that this season, and they totally could have gotten trounced, and they did not. So that was kind of my takeaway.
Yeah, I think it was good for them to play in a situation like that. Like you mentioned how it kind of felt like playoff atmosphere. That place was absolutely packed. And those kids are going into that game knowing who's in attendance for that, right?
Mm-hmm. And you have to think they know like what's on the line there too, right? So I think it's just good to see him rise to the occasion, as Tassos said there, and just the composure that this young group has shown. Like this is a young Hawks team right now. A lot of these kids with not a lot of NHL experience under their belt, and it feels like they're just kind of rising right to that. So that's what you want to see, right? Because this is the group we're going to see next season, with a fresh slate. So you want to see them ready to go, and it looks like they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this weekend in general, and I guess realistically, all these games, since a lot of these young players have come into the roster, it kind of feels like not like a test, but kind of like a test a little bit. It's gauging where we're at, not just like as these players are individuals and where they're at with their careers and stuff, but also kind of where we're at as a team and what we're lacking and what we have. I don't know. It's even though the games have been rough, it feels like they are absolutely crucial to be watched just because of how much change we're seeing.
Like I think these late March, April games, like these are much different hockey games than the October, November games because this is just a much different looking Hawks team. Like this is the Hawks team we're going to see moving forward here for the most part. There's not a lot of guys in this current roster at the moment who aren't going to be a part of this thing, unlike early in the season. So I think like these games mean more. It's like yes, we're 31st in the standings, the season's over, 5 games out, but there's still a lot to play for here. Right? We're establishing an actual identity here finally with this youth movement. Real Blackhawks everywhere. So it's like I think now's a good time just to see where these players are at their development too, and see, like you said, where this team is at, where we need to improve in the offseason going forward. Just see what the final piece of the puzzle, to find here to kind of help steer the ship moving forward. Yeah.
Something that like after the game happened, and Philip Khrushchev scored a goal, and a conversation I wanted to have with you guys is about Lucas Reichel. And I don't know, man. I can't help but feel bad for him. Like it sucks. Obviously, he needs to take responsibility for messing up. And what came out was that he didn't charge. He went to bed at night. Let's have a discussion about this because I think it's kind of crazy. Would you guys ever go to bed if you knew you didn't have a charger, you didn't have anything to charge your phone?
I would probably have that situation figured out, but does he not know? I think hotels still do this, where you can request a wake up call at a certain time. So it's like if he knew that, or I'm not sure if he did know that, but it's like why not have that as a backup plan if your alarm doesn't go off, if your phone isn't charged? Like have the hotel call you at a certain time to make sure you're ready for the meeting. Like I'm just not sure how you don't think about that. I mean, you're a professional. Like I don't go a single night without making sure that my phone and my alarm is ready to go. And I'm a podcaster and attend college classes. I'm not a National Hockey League player there. So I don't know. I see a lot of people kind of, make excuses, but I don't really see that as an excuse. Like,
did he not have, was he not, because I didn't know if it happened in a hotel, if it happened here in Chicago, but if it happened in a hotel.
Oh, it was Washington, so it would have been a hotel.
Well, so does he not, like, is there no teammate? Does he have a suite to himself? Like,
well, that too, you think somebody would have noticed, like, oh, wait, where's Lucas? Did he wake up? Like, or somebody would have been sharing a room, because I'm sure a lot of these guys on the road probably don't have their own rooms. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way it is. Maybe he had a suite up there, the penthouse, and nobody was there to wake him up there. So I don't know. It was a very odd situation for sure, and obviously got scratched. So while all that history making was happening with Ovechkin tying the record, he was up in the press box getting a nice view of it. Drew back in yesterday, but I assume the conversation you're going to have about Reichel here is where his future is with this Hawks team, if I'd have to guess.
Well, I was going to ask, like, what percentage of this are you like, do you feel bad for Lucas Reichel, or what percentage are you like, Lucas Reichel needs to be better, and like this is on him, and not just in regards to the situation, like with his phone, which I feel like should be the most anxiety-inducing thing for a 22-year-old, but that's whatever. Just in general, the entire Lucas Reichel experiment at the Chicago Blackhawks, like, how do you feel about it in your heart?
Well, it sucks. I think, well, you asking my heart, not my brain. So my heart is I do feel bad for Lucas Reichel. Like I like this kid. Like I'm a fan of his. I do think he's going to be, a good player in the NHL. I don't know if he's ever going to be the star player, the dynamic player that maybe we thought he was going to be. And I'm not sure it's going to happen with us at this rate. But I've been defending this kid a lot in this show, right? Like I haven't loved the situation he's been in all year. Pretty much stapled to the fourth line, playing 10 minutes a night, pretty much every game. Like he's hardly moved past that. We got a rep there for one game, the third line of Oliver Moore, and then obviously that happened. He was back in the fourth line yesterday. But so from that perspective, right, like a young Hawks team, like I feel bad for him because I think he should be getting more ice time, more looks. But it's like, it's not like he hasn't opportunities too. And like this is 2 seasons of this. Like I do think his season this year has been better than last season, but it's like he could only go up from there. Like he wasn't going to have a worse season than last year. Like he literally could only improve, and he really hasn't improved that much, probably as much as we probably would have expected or hoped he would. And now we're going on. I think he has one more year left on that bridge deal. So, we'll see. I think next season could be a make or break if he's even on the roster next year. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he was used as trade bait, change of scenery, merchant type of thing, where it's like we look for another player in a similar situation elsewhere to maybe revive their career. Just because we're not giving them ice time, we're not giving them the looks. It feels like we've kind of already made up our mind with Lucas Reichel. So I just have a hard time seeing him as part of this team's future. I want to see him a part of it, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's going to happen at this point. I don't know if you disagree, but yeah.
No, I'm pretty curious as to like how Lucas Reichel feels, because from what I'd imagine, like I feel like he probably feels as though the entire world is against him. Just like I could just see that being his mentality, unfortunately, just with the way things have gone this year. Like, as you mentioned, playing on the fourth line all season, and then obviously this is kind of on him, but I bet he sees some of these other young players coming into the lineup, playing higher up on the lineup than he does, and just feeling like, man, what do I have to do to get that? But I don't know. I think of the Jack Skilly advice where he was like, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And it's like, I wouldn't be shocked if Lucas Reichel didn't want to be here, Maybe I'm wrong about that. I just think, like, couldn't you see him possibly wanting out given where he's played all year?
But I think you're also saying too, it's like I've been saying, it's like if he goes elsewhere, he'll probably thrive, but that's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
It could be the same situation, if not worse, elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, that could be it. That could be your NHL career. And then he's playing in Europe, having losing his passport in China, at the next point.
Yeah.
So I think the question for Reichel is like, what's better for him, right? Is he sticking out this Blackhawks team, or maybe he needs to change his senior? I don't know. Like he's still so young too, 2020 draft pick. 22, 23 years old. Like it's not the it for him. This is his second full season. He could easily still figure it out, I think it's easy to remember like just how young a lot of these guys are. But compared to a lot of these Hawks kids that are coming in, he is kind of older too. You know what I mean? He's had those reps. He's had those games now. He's had those opportunities that they're getting now, and he hasn't really taken advantage of it and run with it, right? I think what he needs to do is he needs to produce, but he's not doing it. And you could say he's not getting enough ice time. He's not getting the line mates, and I think that's fair. But it's like if you're a skilled enough player, you should be able to produce no matter the situation, right? Take over a game, take over a situation. We just haven't really seen that out of him on a consistent basis. So it's like, if at that rate, maybe there's a reason to that he's been playing that situation all season. Like there's things that the coaches are seeing in practices, off the ice, whatever, or there's a reason they're not trusting him in those situations like they are with other players. Like, they're seeing more than we are. Like it's easy to see, critique from an outsider's perspective how they've been handling Lucas Reichel, but like maybe there's another reason for it that we just don't know. Like maybe they see something where it's like he might not be what we thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a good point. I don't know. I guess we don't need to spend too much time on this. It's just like, I don't know. It's an interesting situation because, like, I feel as though if you can't make it work on this Blackhawks team, like, there's been so much volatility. I don't know if that's the word I'm trying to unlock for this sentence, but guys have been moving around this lineup so much this season, and guys have come in from the AHL and played on the second line and stuff like that. And so I don't know if you move teams, like if he moves teams to a better team, it's not like there's going to be more room for him to be trying different spots of the lineup and playing top, so I don't know. That's
a good point. Like he's not going to get, like if he's not able to make it work on a rebuilding team, or like how is he going to make it work on a contender where It's like there's even less ice time, even less slots to work with there. I think also too, like the fact that he was a Bowman draft pick too, not a Davidson draft pick, I think probably matters too in regards to if he'll stick around here, where Davidson might be more willing to move on. I think it just goes to show too, like, and we said this too, it's like not all these guys are going to work out, right? Some will, some won't. I think it just sucks with him because he's a first round pick. And like before Bedard showed up, he kind of was our top forward prospect. So it'd be a shame if he, to see him not work out here, right? That's kind of been a theme with like those like late 2010s, like draft picks. I know he's 2020, but a lot of them we've traded, and just didn't really work out. So with the Bowman era. So I just think with the Davidson era, hopefully we don't see that, right? Where we keep that faith of the young players and, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's important.
Do you guys think he can turn into like a bottom six player on a winning team?
That's the thing of Lucas Reichel, like the way he plays, it's like I just don't know what his role is going to be because like he's not quite at the moment finishing enough, like talented enough, like necessarily driving the play enough to be in the top six. There's a reason he probably hasn't played there all season, but he's just not a bottom six player. The way he plays, like he's not really a defensive guy. He's not going to win a lot of puck battles. Like that's just not really the type of player he is. So it's like he's kind of stuck between somewhere in between being a top six or bottom six player, somewhere in the middle six. I just don't know like how he's going to make that work if he's not producing, which he hasn't really been doing it consistently. Like what can he do to stick around in the lineup? Because it's not like you're seeing him a ton in the PK or anything. The special teams, like what's he going to do? I don't really know.
I think that's something he's going to have to figure out and overcome himself. Because I feel like we see this all the time in the NHL, where you've got talented players that kind of look at the league from the outside perspective because they're not maybe quite talented enough to be true top six forwards, but they're their toolbox is not bottom six forward material, you know? And so I feel like we see that all the time. And in order to overcome that, you've either got to get a lot better and be a top six guy, or you have to be a chameleon and blend in and be able to change your role a little bit and mold your game after like a bottom six type role. So
yeah, and it sucks with him too, because like you do see the potential of him, right? He has the talent, but just not everybody's able to utilize that talent to their potential in the NHL. It's a different league, it's a different ball game, and now our players adjust, from the European or even the North American ranks. So we'll see. He's still got a long career ahead of him. I know Pat Maroon speaks very highly of him, but we'll see. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's, unless you guys had anything else you needed to say about the.
I think we've exhausted Lucas Reichel there.
I think we did Lucas Reichel and Caps talk. Yesterday, honestly a more positive game. The Blackhawks get their first win after 5 straight losses.
That's right.
Nice to get a win, even though we're not really in the tank race. We're kind of in the tank race. It doesn't matter. It's nice to see a win.
That's more important right now than the tank, right? Like, you're a young team that's learning how to win, right? You have to have these types of games, right? This was their first win in like 2 weeks. The Hawks seem to win games like bi-weekly at this point. Like, you need games like that to learn, to grow from. You can't lose every game, right? That's just going to bring the morale of the locker room down, the club down. So you got to have games like that to prove you could get it done. Just like this, a young group of core Blackhawks, they're going to be around for the long haul. It's like, now is the time to learn. Now is the time to develop. So I think we saw that yesterday. It was nice to see him not blow a lead for once, clamp down, finish the result against a Pens team that maybe isn't that great on a back-to-back. But look, you take that, right? Win games that you should be able to, and they did that last night. And I think we saw a lot of those Hawks you've been talking about show out too. Another great game for Frank Nazar, shorthanded goal, beautiful game from him. 5 points his last 6 games. He's finally starting to finish their historic moment. Probably the biggest milestone of the weekend. Sam Renzel, first career point. Good to see him and Moore get on the board this weekend. Ilya Mikheyev, multi-goal game, 20 goals on the season, 4 Hawk to reach that marker. And then Spencer Knight as well. Great performance from him. Yeah.
I know we did a lot of Frank Nazar talk last night, but just kind of transitioning off that Lucas Reichel discussion, the reason why I'm so high on Frank Nazar is that even if he never figures out how to finish the puck and is just always a bad finisher and scorer,
he's still going to be a player.
He's still going to be an NHL. He's still going to be a very impactful bottom 6 piece, regardless of his offensive production, just because of what he does with his effort and how good he is defensively. Like that's why Nazar is so good.
Yep. He plays the game the right way. Like, he can always be on the PK, right? His speed and his defensive play. Like, he could shut other teams' best power plays, best players down and get those shorthanded looks. We saw that last night. Generates breakaways, generates chances every single game, plays the game the right way. Such a smart player. So there's always going to be a role, a situation for Frank Nazar in the NHL. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, who knows what his ceiling is? I know we spent some time last night trying to predict what he's going to do next year and maybe the following year. But it's like, the thing is we know what his floor is. Like, his floor is high. And so that's, I don't know, it's a really positive, comforting thing when you've got all these young prospects where you don't know where these kids are going to line up and how they're going to turn out. It's nice to be pretty certain about at least one of them.
There must be something to be said for that, right? Because a lot of these guys, like you said, like we could project floors or ceilings, but we don't know for certain. Like, we can glaze them all we want, but we don't know if they're going to be a part of this thing for the long haul, right? But Frank Nazar, though, it feels like that's a piece of the puzzle that's figured out. Whether he's the 2C or he can move in the wing 2, like, we've got that figured out. 3C. I'm not worried about him being a bottom 6. Like, Frank Nazar, I think we talked about in the post game, but that's a top 6, maybe even first line talent right there. Like, I think he's going to be a perfect number 2, number 3 behind Betsy in the 4 depth charts there. I think he's going to be a perfect game plus player. Just everything I see of him, the way he plays the game, I think the sky's the limit for him. And now that he's finally finishing those looks that he gets every game too, it's like, it's exciting. It's exciting when you finally see him start to figure that out. I think it's going to be fun to watch moving forward. I think he's been probably the most impressive Hawk the last little while. Yeah.
If you had to, if we were like penciling this lineup for like 3 years time or 4 years time and like where everybody's going to slot in, obviously it'd be a lot of projections and assumptions. But as of right now, where do you think Frank Nazar is going to be on this roster in, let's say, 4 years time?
2C, but he could be first line. You know what could happen? I think a lot of it depends on what happens in this draft, if we get Misa or not. But it's like, dude, like, he could be the 1C. I think we've said this many times, but I'll bring it up again. Like, I could see him being the 1C, move Betsy to the wing, or Misa could be the 1C and then he's the 2C. Like, I think either 2C or if you want to move him up to the top line and be a winger, you could do that as well. But I think he's a top 6 piece, like, but for certain, I'm not really concerned about that. Yeah.
Tassos, you have any pushback about that regarding Frank Nazar?
It's actually Raven again. He had to take a phone call, but
Oh.
What do you think about Frank Nazar?
Frank Nazar's the GOAT. He's our guy.
We do not need Raven to do Frank Nazar talk on the show. That's so funny. Sam Rinzel, first career NHL point. It was a nice play. Got it up to Bedard, I think, right? And then Bedard found Mikheyev on that goal. Yeah, good to see Rinzel getting that one. Hopefully he gets a goal. I want him and Levchinov to both score a goal by the end of this year. That's like, that's probably my biggest, it's the highest up on my wish list for the rest of the season. How about you?
Yeah, I want to get the milestones out of the way, right?
Yeah.
We're still looking for Rinzel Artie and also Oliver Moore's first career NHL goals.
Yeah.
I know he played the league last season, but Korchinski hasn't had a point yet this season, so I'd like to see him do something in that regard too. But yeah, that's kind of the one thing that's missing right now. We have 5 games, to make it happen there. So there's still time. At least one of them, right? Like, I don't want all of them to go into the offseason waiting for next season to get that first career goal. Just get out of the way now. We can start a clean slate next season, right? Yeah.
It would be nice to get the milestones out of the way now. But I don't know, dude, just like reflecting on these past couple games with these guys all up here in the lineup. And I know we've got 5 left and hopefully they can finish strong. But it's so nice that we've given the chance to this many guys at the end of this season, just because they're going into the offseason, this long offseason, because obviously they're missing the playoffs. So they're going to have 5 months off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going into this big chunk of time with some data, they know what they need to improve on. They know what they're good at. They know what their strengths are. They know what their weaknesses are. They're familiar with the speed of the NHL game. And so I feel like that's honestly the biggest win of the season, maybe, is having this many guys get some NHL experience.
Right, it's all about development. I think in the second half of the season, right? Let's we're out of it, right? There's nothing to play for standings wise, so it's let's figure out what we have right now with these young Blackhawks. I think that's a nice thing. I think after these 5 games, season's up, all of these guys will have had enough reps, enough time where it's the staff and all that should know exactly where they should slide in the next season's lineup, so that could help too with figuring out where you need to add in free agency trades to kind of help fill this roster out. Make it more competitive next season, start accelerating this rebuild for KD. I think that's definitely on the agenda. So, and also I just think a lot of these guys coming in, I've said it before, but it's I think they're Blackhawks now. I don't think any of these guys that we've seen up here really need more time at the Ice Hawks. I think Rinzel especially, more we'll see. I don't think he really needs to go down the rock for the way he's looked. And obviously not Levchinov. If anything, he's looked better in the NHL versus the AHL. So I think that's a good sign, right? I think that these guys are tracking right with their development. And that's what you want to see, right? Figuring that out, get these guys reps, experience, learn now. That becomes a lot easier in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, chat, forgive us. I want to do we did it a bit last night too, but just more big picture stuff at this point in the season.
That's more important than dig into every detail about this game. It's not going to matter. This Hawks Penguins game. It's whatever. It's a blip. Big picture stuff is what matters right now. That's what's going to steer the ship here. So yeah. I'm
looking at the lineup right now from yesterday, and I'm thinking to myself, so you don't think that Moore is going to play in Rockford next year?
He could potentially, we could see a Frank Nazar type of season where he starts the year in Rockford, but then, plays too well to where it's pretty obvious he's not an AHL player. He's going to be on the Hawks next year, whether it's in October, November, December. Honestly, I think the fact that he's gotten more reps, because Nazar only had 3 games last year, right? Then Moore's going to have 10. So I think we've seen enough from these games where it's do you think that player's going to need any time at Rockford? I don't. I think he doesn't look like it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think you're right. I think from what I've seen so far, he's probably
Rinzel definitely not.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think if Rinzel spends any time at the start of next season in Rockford, I think it's just a bad decision, honestly, from the Blackhawks organization. You've seen the kid already playing the most minutes on the team.
Is it bad that he already feels more composed, more NHL ready than Kevin Korchinski?
Yes and no. I mean, no from a Blackhawks fan perspective, honestly, because it's now there's no pressure on Korchinski. realistically, with what we have, and I know we talked about it a bit last night, but with Vlasic and Rinzel and Levshinov, it's like you've got 3 guys out of 6 that that you feel pretty strongly about that are going to be studs in this league.
So of course doesn't have to be.
You don't even at all, dude.
Yeah.
Like you can win Stanley Cups off the strength of 3 really, really good defensemen.
Just be a solid number 4 power play kind of specialty there, a second pair. Like you could do that and that work out just fine. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen the Blackhawks do well with 3, stud defensemen, and then kind of
Keith Seabrook, Chalmerson.
Yeah.
They're all right.
Yeah, not bad players if you've ever heard of them. So I don't know. It's it's an okay situation for the Blackhawks, but for Korchinski, I'd imagine there's pressure there.
This is a guy a little while ago. Like we assumed he was going to be the number 1 defense, but now he's kind of chopped all the way to 4. So it's like there's a question at hand: is he going to be a 4 of the Hawks, or is he, could he still be a number 1, number 2 guy elsewhere? I think he's another guy. He's probably the Lucas Reichel of the defense there. Yeah.
And so I'm just looking at this lineup and I'm thinking like, who isn't gonna, like, most of these guys are gonna be here next year, like Khrushchev, Khrushchev's not gonna be in this lineup. But I mean, Colton Dock's still out, so maybe Colton Dock is there on that third line. But other than that, it's like, I guess maybe Korchinski's situation is up in the air, but also that might just be us hypothesizing that his future's up in the air. Like
he's still so young, man. Like I think the organization's still going to give him time. Like I know he's been in talks a lot. There's been a lot of dialogue around him, but that's not a guy that Katie's just going to give up on that quick. Like I think he's going to have at least a season here to figure it out. But Reichel, I don't know about him. Yeah.
But then other than that, it's like Reichel's maybe a question mark, and so is Donato.
Donato really is a question mark at this point, man. Like honestly, if anything, he's almost played too well. Where it's like I kept making jokes all season about increasing his trade value, but it's like he increased it to a point where it's like teams looked at that and said, well, he's never done that before. He's probably not going to do it again. He's on an insane heater right now. So it's like, we're not going to trade for it. And now it's like he's played so well to the point where it's like, does he even extend here? I think he's had a 3x4 offered to him, 3 years, $4 million, and they haven't taken it. I think that was offered weeks ago. So the fact they haven't tells me that's going to be a summer decision. And Donato might be, his agent, his camp might be looking for more than that. So he might be walking for nothing. So he's almost played too well for us to maybe, want to hang on to, unless they take the bait there, which I do think that'd be a fair deal. But he might not be a part of this thing, even though we didn't trade him. He might not. He's not a guarantee. You can't just pencil him in the lineup right away now. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a shitty situation at this point now because it's like, if he ends up walking, you're gonna feel like maybe worse than if you overpay him, and like neither. And that's why, dude, that's why we wanted him to get traded so bad at the deadline. That's why I was like so pissed on that special that we did, like right after the deadline was over. And I was kind of miserable just because like I kind of foresaw a situation like this where if you didn't get him wrapped up right away and you let this thing, linger a little longer, he's going to keep producing. And then all of a sudden you're going to have to pay him, way more than you'd probably like.
Yeah, I think the Hawks offer 4. They're probably looking, I think I've said this before, like they're probably looking for nothing less than $5 million at this point, the way he's producing, right? He's going to have a 30 goal plus 60 plus point season. He's right up there at Bedard for the team scoring lead. So it's like, I imagine that they're going to be looking for something. Again, I think we've talked about this a bit down this road. I think the years matters more than the term at this point, but yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think if he ends up walking for nothing, you lose him. That wouldn't be a great look because, you could have just traded him and gotten another more draft capital assets, at the deadline. But it is what it is, right? There's a player that we played pretty recently at Friday, Dylan Strome, who we didn't trade the deadline back in 2022, let walk for nothing. And now he's been their top center there, helping Alex Ovechkin get to that goal record. So not the same thing. It's not really a fair comparison, but my point is like Donato, if we said before too, where it's like, it's possible too, if this is what he is now, and then you're losing a potential top 6 guy for nothing. That's not ideal, but at the same time too, not the end of the world, because I could very easily see him, kind of reverting back to the mean there, kind of what he's been his whole career, 30, 40 points. It's like, we have a lot of young guys, a lot of Hawks moving in, filling in the spots here of this roster to where, that's not really going to be a major loss. Like you could look at his production this year and think that way, but in the short term, maybe, but I think that production is going to be, the players will be there to pick up the pieces, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm bringing up like this, going through this roster, and like, because realistically, it's like, how many spots are there going to be open for the start of next season? Because it's like next year, the same process is going to happen next year, where you're going to have college players, finishing their seasons and coming in
more.
Yeah, it's like we've still got so many more on the way, and you only have too many spots. And obviously, the defense is more of a logjam than the forward group.
And we don't know what they're going to do, like in terms of moves this offseason too yet. Like what players are going to sign for agency, like what trades are going to make. Katie's going to do something. He's probably going to be a busy man this offseason. I think he has to be if he wants to keep his job. So it's like, yes, I think he's done a good job going through this draft, but a lot of people are kind of short-sighted to where they can't necessarily see that, right? They just look at the results on paper and like, look, this team didn't improve from one season to the next, so the plan's not working. But I think if you look at the prospect pool, you look at the way this team's looking compared to the beginning of the season, you can see it's the process has started to come together here, and it's only going to become more so. Like you said, there are going to be guys like Boisvert who are going to be coming on to the team at the end of the next season too. We got guys like Cancer over the KHL, Lardis ripping it up in juniors. He could be on the team at some point next season. Probably going to need some time in the minors before then. But the point is, it's not done yet. Like most of our futures arrived, not all of it, and it's only going to become more so after this draft. So that you're just adding even more players in the mix here. So just something to keep in account. Visiting out the kind of guys who probably won't be here for the long term. Yeah.
One guy we definitely think is going to be here for the long term is Sam Renzel, who had his first point yesterday. Can we listen to this clip from Sam Renzel?
What's it been playing with Vlasic recently? There was that play where he turned it over and you dove out to kind of save him there and everything.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He's a great skater and he's long and he's great defensively and he can chip in a lot of offense too. So, it's good to know that he's got my back when I make some mistakes, but I want to have his for sure too.
In the third period today, what did you guys do differently than the past few games when you weren't able to hold the lead?
It didn't feel like we were panicked. It felt like we were playing the right way. When we needed to get pucks in deep, we did. Just staying over top of guys, trying not to give them as much. And, Nagy played unbelievable and kept us in there a few times and an unbelievable save at the end there. So.
Renzel and Vlasic can be such a dirty top pairing, like
dominant first pair,
dude. Again, because just they're both just so big and long, and they're both going to continue to grow. And and especially with Renzel, like he's going to fill out that frame a little bit more. With Vlasic being the more defensive defenseman of the pair, and then Renzel having a little bit longer of a leash to go forward and be creative. I feel like there's a lot there for us to be excited about between the two of them.
I just think the fact that those two are so good to where it's like Artie Lepshinov right now is a second pair defense. I don't think he's going to be in the long term, like that's going to be our guy. But the fact that there's that competition, like within this group, between those three stud defensemen for who's going to be the guy here, I think that's great. They can all be guys. And I think, look, we've seen it before, like you said earlier with Blackhawks. Like all you really need is like three really good defensemen. The rest can kind of slot in there. And we have enough young defensemen in this pool here where it's like we kind of already have the top six figured out there. It's like it's just who's going to fill in those remaining three slots, the question, right? Because we have 9 guys who are in competition for that. But again, I think just the fact that you can never really have too many young defensemen, to have more than less there is a good problem to have for the Hawks, right? I think kind of building this team from the back end out has been the KD's agenda, and I think we're starting to see it come to fruition here, where it's like, man, that back end in the future, it is going to be hell for another team to go through. I think that's going to be the X factor for the Hawks in these playoff series too. It's like defense wins championships, and we're building quite a back end there. Yeah.
I also think that the confidence that the competition can be a really good thing from like a managerial standpoint for the Blackhawks, where it's like you might be having to pay a lot of these guys at similar times, but it's like there's so much competition, and there's like another guy that's just as talented as you playing the same, especially on that right side. It's hard to find good right shot defensemen. The fact that we have 2 that are both so good can also mean that we're going to be able to keep a relatively friendly internal cap. That's like, we're not going to be overpaying any of these guys. You'd hope.
It's a good point you brought up there with the right D. Like you could argue like there's very few positions in hockey that are probably more important than having that right shot.
Probably that in center.
who can eat up minutes, right? Do the power play, do the special teams, the PK. There's a reason that Stan Bowman gave Seth Jones that money in term of 2021. Obviously, it didn't work out, but there's a reason he did it, right? Teams are always looking for that type of defenseman or better. And I think we're going to see that there. We got two very good options there for Enzel and Artie. So the fact that both of them are probably going to work out, I don't think we're jumping the gun there, right? You can already see it through these few games that these guys are going to be studs in this league. So that's a great thing for the Hawks.
Can we listen to this clip of Spencer Knight talking about the young defenseman?
How do you view the up arrow with the young defensemen in front of you when you see performances like they had tonight?
The up arrow?
Where they're going.
Yeah. It's good. I think it's obviously the best league of the world, and it can be unforgiving, but I think we have a lot of young guys who are really learning and growing into great players. And there's guys who have been here for a bit, and some guys who brand new to the league. And I think one thing I can say about all of them is they have really good attitudes, which I think is big, right? They're eager to learn, eager to get better, which is, I think, very important at that age, because you can't think that you're all this and that when you get to this league. There's too many good players, and everyone's very humble, very respectful of the league and how good it is. And I think their mindsets will carry them a long way.
Justin, how do you feel about the up arrow of these young defensemen?
Yeah, dude, like these journalists, man, you gotta ask better questions, man. Stop throwing around these terms that the players have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. But even Spencer Knight was like, "Oh, what?" I see what he was going for, and look, I think the best news for this young defense group that the Hawks are building, I think nobody's happy about than Spencer Knight, right? I think this is going to only help his cause out too. I think if you're a goaltender, right, sometimes only goes a defense in front of you, right? I think Spencer Knight's a good enough goaltender to steal your games from time to time, but you don't want to make that a regularity every single night, So I think the fact that you're building this group in front of him, it's only going to help his game out, So that's great. I think Marty Brodeur wasn't just Marty Brodeur because of his game. I think the Devils always had a great defense group in front of him, and Crawford too with the Hawks, right? You always had Keith Seabrook, Chalmerson in front of him. So I think that works hand in hand, a good defense group and the goalie. So it's great news for Spencer Knight. I think he's our guy, he's our starter, and the fact that you got him back there and you got all these defensemen, dude, there's a lot to be excited for here. Yeah,
dude, there really is, and also just the fact that they're all so close in age, and it's it's all going to be happening at the same time for them. I feel like the bond on this team is going to be so strong in a few years once they're competitive, because it's dude, these are the guys I came up with,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun to kind of watch this from the start too, because I kind of just started getting into hockey around 2010, so I kind of missed out that early part.
Yeah, we were so young, bro.
Coming in and Kane Tays, I missed kind of that first part of it, and now we're seeing this whole thing kind of up as adults too. Our puck knowledge is definitely much higher than when we were little kids.
Well, mine might not be, but yours
maybe not you. But I was playing hockey, so I was already a genius, right? I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think just to see this thing now, it's I think we're gonna look back on this season too, where it's it sucked in the moment, but you can kind of already see this late stage of the season. The building blocks are already starting to come together here. I think that's an exciting process. And we're going to see that for the entire season next year. That's why I'm so much more optimistic for next season. I'm not sure how much more wins this team's going to, win. I'm not sure how much more points they're going to generate, in the standings, all that. But I could tell you it's going to be a hell of a lot more fun than this season. Because from the get-go, we're going to have real Blackhawks to look forward to watching the entire year. We're going to see this thing develop. We're going to let the kids cook. I truly think we've gotten past the worst part of it. I'm not saying everything's just going to magically get better next season if this team's going to make the playoffs, but we've gotten past the worst part of the rebuild. It's truly only up from here. I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, and I feel like we haven't really said that much on the show. I think you're right. I think we are. I think this season and last are probably as bad as it gets. And I agree. I think that I don't see a very likely chance of this team being just as bad next year, And that's exciting, not just for us, but for every Blackhawks fan. And it's been awesome, over this rebuild, to see the attendance that the team has maintained despite how bad the roster's been is it's so awesome, because it's this didn't exist before, the dynasty team, realistically.
Yeah, there are other issues too with the TV stuff. I guess that's still a thing now too, to a lesser extent, but there are other problems with that team. But that's a great point. I think the fact that it's come after that too, after the Kane Tays, some of that effect is still there. Fans created during that time that have stuck around through this process. Also the Bedard effect there. Those teams didn't really have a generational player to rally behind before Kane Tays showed up. So there's that as well. The fact that we're seeing, real Blackhawks in this team, even the jerseys, you look at, they're starting to sell Oliver Moore, Frank Days, or Spencer Knight jerseys. It's not just Bedard now. So that's a good thing, right? right? You're starting to see the process come together here. So I think it's a good thing for this team that they're still up there in attendance. Not all these bottom tier teams are. The Sharks, I look at their attendance, and I think it's like close to last in the NHL. The media won't talk about that, though. They won't talk about how Hawks fans still show out, and they'll always talk about how depressed Bedard is when like this team is so young. A lot of guys are around the same age as him. And I looked too, like yesterday, man. Like I don't know if you watched a lot of the bench stuff, but like they seem pretty happy over there, man. Like the vibes seem to be pretty strong at this team at the moment. I'm not really sure what everybody's talking about there with Bedsy. It really makes no sense to me. Like he's got plenty of guys on his team who are around the same age as him, same draft class, same situation. So it's like I kind of want to stop hearing about it there. I'm kind of sick of it because it's just not true. Like if you've been watching this team, covering this team, in the weeds of this team, it's not the case. I think he's got a good situation here. So, I think you could look at totals from this season, where we are in the standings, and jump to these conclusions. But if you actually look at the long-term process here, I think there's reasons for optimism here. Yeah.
Tassos and I were just listening to Elliot Friedman too on 32 Thoughts today, and he did a little segment to say that he never said that Bedard wanted to leave Chicago, because he got asked by an NHL player who's knows or friends with Connor Bedard. He obviously didn't disclose who, but he was like, "Did you report this?" And he was like, "No." And I guess the said NHL player was approached by another NHL player and was like, "Does Bedard really want to leave Chicago?" And it's like, dude, these rumors are so easily spread just because people just see his demeanor during games and the one snapshot they get from TNT or whatever. But it's like, have you listened to this kid in interviews? Have you, have you seen the stuff we have? He obviously, I can't imagine there's too many more fun locker rooms to be in as a 19-year-old in the NHL right now than the Blackhawks. It's this team is all 23 and under. Why would you want to leave?
No, it really makes no sense there. There's a good interview of him on CHSN, I think, with Tony Granato there, and he kind of dispelled a lot of that stuff too. Where he talked about in that interview, he sees what Katie's building, he sees the vision, understands. Look, here's the thing too. In sports, right, when you're the number one overall pick to a certain team, more often than not, that team you just got drafted to is going to suck for a little while because they were the worst team to get you. I'm not sure why with this Blackhawks team, they're the first team in history that's expected to be cup contenders, playoff team right away of Connor Bedard. I've never seen this type of dialogue with a certain player 2 years in. He's still a teenager in this league, how he already wants out because they still suck. It's it truly makes absolutely no sense to me. I think it's just because we're the Chicago Blackhawks original 6 team. And look, we're one of the most hated organizations in hockey. Let's be real about that. I think they hate us because they hate us. They see what we're building and they're probably scared there. So they're trying to create these false narratives there, to kind of put us down. But I'm not taking the bait. We're not taking the bait. And you listen to the show, you're probably not taking the bait either. So good on you there. But also another stat of Bedsy too, I think, because there's been a lot of talk around him this season. Look, back-to-back 60-plus point seasons. I saw this stat here. He's one of only 3 active players in the NHL as a teenager to put up back-to-back 60-point seasons. So, look, his production's been still around the same as his rookie year.
Is that a Mickey Mouse stat? Is that a Mickey Mouse stat? The only reason why I'm asking is because it's how many guys have there been
well,
have they had the opportunity to score 60 points twice as a teenager? Because it's probably just a handful,
Well, but there's another argument to make there. There's a reason for that because not many players, play in the NHL right away as an 18-year-old. So there's a reason he's doing that, right? A lot of these guys are coming in as 20-year-olds, like Frank Dazer, etc. So you have to be a player a step above to be able to make that jump right away and not spend any time really developing. He's developing on this Blackhawks team. That's been his entire development. And not a lot of players do that. So I think with Bedsy, that's just a good sign there. I think, yes, a little bit of a fall off points per game wise, whatever, but he's still producing around the same rate. And I think, again, next season, I think it's going to go a hell of a lot easier for him with this team we're building around him. It's going to be a lot better. Brighter days ahead. Yeah.
That's a good point. That is the correct counter argument to next time somebody who's not me brings that up to you.
It's a fair point though. It is a bit of a Mickey Mouse stat, but there's a reason for it. Yeah.
All right, we're kind of cooking here. We should get through these last couple. We got a couple more clips that we should listen to. Can we listen to Sorensen on the win against the Penguins?
How much do you just keep seeing him evolve this year, and how big was that to kind of wake up a game that it looked like nobody was really trying to take control there for a while?
Yeah, there was a lot of just 50-50 shifts going on, but but for us as a group, that's also positive, right? Learning how to play those games because we have had a tendency to open things up sometimes. So that was good. But then Frankie, obviously, I know there's been a lot of talk about his scoring chances and breakaways, so good for him. That was the difference, right? I thought after that we had some good energy, and yeah, it was good.
Were
What did you do differently in the third period today after the past few games have been tough to hold leads?
I think we were playing more in the front of our foot. We were encouraging guys to be more on the forecheck, trying to reminding them too that they played last night. Let's stay on them. You know, they got some high-end D, but those guys don't want to go back for pucks. They want to keep everything in front of them. So encouraging that was the biggest message. But I think the guys did a good job.
Well, Tassos is in the producer chair and not here with me, so I'm going to elect to not talk about Anders Sorensen's clip. Can we listen to Ilya Makheyev's clip?
The game overall and everything. It looks like you guys have kind of put together some good games over the last couple of days and everything, win or lose. And how good are you guys feeling about your game?
Yeah, of course. Like we feel, I want to say like maybe last 3 weeks, like months, maybe we play. I want to say like good. Maybe we're not win, yes, but I think we have more advantage during each game, you know, and we sometimes crack in the third period, but it takes time for learning for young guys and for everybody how we need to be patient and maybe sometimes play more simple.
After the injury and working your way back, how gratifying is it? How happy are you to be back at that 20 goal mark?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that injury was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, yeah. And I feel good right now.
I love Ilya Mikheyev.
He's been such a fun surprise, man. Not to cut you off.
No,
there.
go
Kind
ahead.
of sounds like Artie too, but I think he's Russian, he's Belarus, so pretty similar dialects there. But not quite the personality of Artie though. But yeah, no, he's been such a fun surprise. Like I didn't really expect anything of him when we traded for him. Didn't really give up anything to get him. Like quietly another KD masterclass there. I don't know what it is of Canucks trades and just quietly getting those like really solid bottom six like utility pieces. But he's done it again with Mikheyev. I'm like, yeah, that's a guy. I'm happy to have him around here for a little bit here. You know, good to see him a part of this team. Like he's good in the PK, good in the special teams. You know, that's a perfect bottom six type of player. I know he's been kind of second line of this Hawks team. Actually, first line lately is kind of Bedard, which you probably, like you said, probably don't want to be there in the long run. But you know, for now, that's okay. And but no, I think even when he's not up there, like he's a useful player in any situation, any role we could put him in. So you know, returning from the injury there too. I think that's another thing about Mikheyev too. It's like the fact that he is kind of still recovering from that injury. I think there's been a lot of dialogue around him too, where it's like I know his game kind of fell off in recent seasons probably because of that, but he looks a lot more like Ilya Mikheyev that came into the league, right? His speed's kind of returned there. He's creating chances, he's generating chances, he's producing too. 20 goals very quietly. He's tied with Bedard. 20 goals, 4 from the team. One of only 4 Hawks with 20 goals. I think, what is it? Donato, him, Bertuzzi, Bedard, like I said. So, would not expected that beginning of the season, but so that's props to him there. You know, multi-goal game for him. Yeah.
Dude, we wouldn't have expected it at the beginning of the season, but we definitely wouldn't have expected it like whatever it was, like a month into the season when we were still slandering him like crazy.
Calling him Agent 007.
He was doing nothing.
How about it took him like a month to get a point or something like that first little bit? Like he was like, whoa, like. But I think again, like I said, I think he's still like I think a part of it's because he's recovering from that injury.
Yeah.
So, but now it looks like he's back. He's got his legs under him, and that's legs feed the wolf. It definitely feeds Ilya Mikheyev. Like his game runs through his speed. Like that's where he thrives.
So we're paying him $4.04 million next year, and then he's a UFA after that. Look, okay. I think he's 30 years old right now. That's a guy that I'm perfectly fine with bringing him back and keeping him here for another couple years. I know, so he'll be like 31, 32 when they're, you know, talking about that contract. I mean, dude, I wouldn't want to pay him maybe as much as he's making now because I think Vancouver's like retaining. Yeah, Vancouver's retaining 15% of his contract, and he's still making more than, you know, a lot of guys on the team. So as long as like the contract makes sense, that is a guy I would love to keep around because, as we talked about, that's a great third line player.
That's the guy who probably should have got the belt after the Hawks win last night, but instead they gave it to their massage therapist. Apparently, who's gotten, I think it was his 2,500th game or something. So yeah, the Blackhawks massage therapist gets a belt this season before Connor Bedard does. So that tells you a lot right there. But yeah, back to Mikheyev there. I will say this though, it's like this situation seems a little familiar here. I mean, he has 1 year left in that deal, right? I could see him quietly kind of going off next season, and then he's a name we're talking about the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Do we trade this guy while his value is at his highest, or do we keep him around for the long haul? And suddenly, there he goes, a free agency there. Maybe not. Maybe I'm overthinking that, but I'd like to make him a part of this team. But like at the same time, if he's not, like there's other guys coming in. Like I don't think our future success hinges on Ilya Mikheyev here, but he's an extra piece, right? Where it's a supplemental surplus. I think it's not a bad problem to have, right? Yeah.
Also, like not just how good he's been 5-on-5 and how he can play, really anywhere in the lineup, but also on the penalty kill too. Like he's been one of our best killers on, we've had a top 10 penalty kill all year long, and he's a big part of that. And so there definitely is value there. But yeah, I think as far as extension goes, I'm all for it unless it's like a massive overpay.
For the fair term, right? But
yeah.
I think it's nice to see a veteran on this team who's not useless, right? Like he's one of the few who's like provided value, because like a lot of it's been the kids steering the ship, but they haven't really had the top end with the vets to kind of help them out there. And he's been one of the few guys who's able to do that. So I think, look, I know we slandered KD a lot for his offseason acquisitions, but that wasn't a bad one. That was a good one. Honestly, you could argue it was the best one. Kind of shocking, but yeah, you can make that argument. Maybe Tavo has something to say about that, but I would say Mikheyev has provided more value than Bertuzzi or Brody or Maroon or Smith or any of those guys who's now gone, and Brossoit doesn't even exist. So anyway.
No, Kevin pointed out that we weren't loving him in November. No, I know. We were dogging him.
We said that. That was like what, 5? That was 5 months ago. Things change, man.
Yeah. Things change. Players start playing better. I guess we'll take a second here to issue Ilya Mikheyev an apology if that's what you want us to do.
I guarantee you all of chat wasn't loving him either, but hindsight's always 20/20, We comment on things as they happen, right? We can't be like, oh yeah, he's sucked now, but he might be good in a little while. Like, I don't know.
I just, I think that if we're able to keep him and Donato around at an okay price, like those are two really good third liners.
Yes.
That's like ideally what you want them playing.
That'd be a great third line.
That would be an unbelievable third line, especially if they can like play together for a couple years. Both guys that have bounced around a lot. So yeah, I think if you can lock both those two up at a decent dollar amount, I am all for it.
Ditto. Maybe one last thing to get to before the break, because I think we're hitting around an hour here. Hawks do have a rematch against the Penguins tomorrow, I guess. So expectations for that. I think it's pretty cool that Bedard's returned to the site that he made his NHL debut. That was a while ago now, because that was obviously his debut, and like he's gone. This game's almost the end of the second season there until he's found returning after 140 plus games or something. So Bedsy versus Crosby again, which little stat about Sidney Crosby. I don't know if I fully realized it, but like if you look at points per game, the Hawks are one of the teams he's actually struggled against the most in his career. I think maybe because he was always matching up against Jonathan Toews, he was always locking him down there. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
We'll do Justin, you and I will do a little pregame tomorrow on Instagram for that one. And
sure.
As we mentioned earlier, Tassos and I are going to be streaming that one tomorrow. So that should be good. Before we hit the break, should we just mention Lardis and Misiak both having hat tricks in the OHL playoffs on the same night?
Yeah, we gotta get some prospect talk in there, right? But Jesus, Nick Lardis, man, the production he's putting up. Yeah, he's a 19-year-old in juniors, but it's like, man, like the rate he's producing, like no player's done it in years, in decades. A lot of them were in their draft years, like the Lindrosses and the Tavareses, etc. But I think this guy is going to be a piece. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to be necessarily a star in the NHL. Like I think there's been question marks about whether his game will translate. But even if he plays half as good as he probably is right now, like he could still be a solid 20, 30 goal guy, power play merchant. Like I think that'd be useful. You still need guys who can put the puck in the net. That's probably the most useful thing you could have in hockey. You win games by players who can score a goal with snipers, and that's what Lardis is. So people building up his defensive game, all that, yada yada. But that's not really what he does. We have guys who could do that. When you have a pure goal scorer, you need guys like that. I think Nick Lardis could be that. So,
dude, I've watched his tape, and like I understand where the criticism comes from. Like
it's junior hockey too. You think he's gonna play the same way in the NHL?
He's not. Yeah. Yes, that's the thing. Is he's not. And it's
that's his job is to score goals on that team. You think he's gonna be cherry picking in the defense in the offensive zone when in the NHL? No.
Justin, I'm watching these like YouTube prospect people like break down his film, and they're
I think I watched the same thing.
Dude, they're taking a game where they won like 10-1. and they're like, look at how he's cheating here defensively. It's like it's 7-0 right now. Why the fuck is he?
Because of him.
Yeah.
He's probably scored like
he's
4
got 2
goals in that
already.
game.
Yeah.
But oh my God, there's 5 minutes left in the game. Look at him here. He's in the neutral zone. Like, oh, he's not going to translate that. Like, it's so stupid what these people are doing. It's like, oh no,
bro,
he's going to be fine, man.
It's like I'm watching him go through the legs on a breakaway in the playoffs, and you guys are talking about his cheat, and
there is this exact same dialogue with players in a similar situation, with the small players like Alex DeBrincats and the Cole
It happens
Caulfields.
every year.
Every single time there's that young players producing, oh, I don't know if it's going to work out in the NHL. It's 2025. Grow up. The game's changing. He's going to be a player. I'm not saying he's going to be a stud, but he's going to be a player.
Yeah, and he could be a stud.
He could be. The potential's there.
His
Yeah.
ceiling is definitely super high. So
you can't question that, dude.
Yeah.
Like 70 goals. Like, come on, dude. If it's so easy, why isn't anybody else doing it? So I don't know.
yeah, dude, I think Misiak's going to be a dog too, which is like, it's like, dude, we almost have too many.
That's, again, a good problem to have, right? Because then for the pieces that, there's not enough room, you flip them for assets, right? I think that's what Katie's been doing, and he's going to continue to do it in this draft. And like I said, like we said in the show, I think after this draft, that's when we start cooking. I think next season it's only up from there. So I think that's a good way to end it.
Absolutely, yeah. Good Blackhawks hour. Stick around. We've got a lot to talk about in this NHL hour. We're going to be talking Ovi. We're going to be talking about the playoffs. We're going to be talking about Canadians. We're going to be talking about the wild card race, all the above. So stick around for that. We will be back in just a second. Keep it here. Welcome back.
You okay over there, man? Look like I have a stroke
Dude,
over
that
there.
song, every time that song comes on, it makes me want to do this. I don't know. It's like...
It just fires you up, man. That's what you want. You got to get fired up for these shows, man. You can't be doing them with no energy. We got to bring the energy.
I feel like
bring the action.
I feel like I need my neck readjusted after I do that one. Anyway,
maybe the Hawks massage therapist can help you out.
Man. Oh yeah. He's got the belt right now, so he's had a better season than Connor Bedard, obviously. All jokes aside, Lee Grossman, Justin Lynch back for an NHL hour. Where shall we begin? I
think we should begin with the very historic Dylan Strome secondary assist last night on Alex Ovechkin. I guess he broke the goal record, so we probably should start with that, right?
Look, Justin, you and I, both big Dylan Strome guys, we always knew this kid was going to be something great.
Yep.
And he's going to be in the history books forever with the assist on Ovi's record-breaking goal. It was all Strome, if we're being honest there.
Yeah, no, Tom Wilson didn't do anything there. He definitely didn't have the primary assist until we find him wide open in the power play there. It's amazing, man. All these years, 20 years later, and teams still leave Alex Ovechkin wide open on the slot there, top of the circle in the power play. When will they learn? They never do learn, do they? Absolute, again, said it before, but absolute Howard service shot. You love to see Alex Ovechkin get the goal record in that fashion, that style. Just absolute perfection. Love to see it. Now it's about seeing how far he can extend that record. Can he get 900 before the season's over? Maybe. I don't know. Where does he end his career? Does he get to 1,000? He probably have to play a little longer to get there, but it's within the realm of possibility. And then the other question too is does that record last forever? Does anybody ever break it? At least in our lifetimes.
Yeah, I think yes. I think it will.
Yes to everything.
Yes to everything. I mean, just to do another quick little bit about just the moment and the celebration and the ceremony. And I don't know, it was a special moment, not just for Ovechkin, but for, I think, all hockey fans, honestly. Like, the way that arena erupted, I know there were obviously a ton of Capitals fans.
But it was a away
there.
game, too. Yeah, I mean, it was an away game, but I think there are more Capitals fans than Islanders fans, just the way that season's gone. But just the appreciation for the moment, for history. But I think even Islanders fans wanted to see him score that goal, and like it wouldn't really matter. They won the game 4-1 anyway. So it was kind of a best case scenario game for them. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the goal record can get broken. I don't know about the points record. That's like insane.
The crazier part of that isn't just the fact that he has 2,859 points or whatever it is, Gretzky, but like the fact that he has more assists than anybody else has points. Like that might be the craziest stat in sports to me. That might get broken. Somebody else might get to 2,000 points. Connor McDavid probably, but yeah, I think the points record probably is safe there. The assists record too. So I don't know if anybody's ever catching that, but we'll see. The game changes. We probably wouldn't see that type of dramatic change in our lifetime, but down the road, you never know like what's going to be happening. The future. Players might be scoring 200 points in a regular hockey. You never know. But that's a ways down the road. We'll probably discover aliens by then. Yeah.
I don't know if I think that like as the game develops and gets better, I think scoring's going to get harder.
Yeah, that's probably it.
I think defensemen are going to be better. Like goaltending is, I know goaltending's in a bit of a valley right now.
It always goes through dips and valleys.
Yeah, but it'll get better. But I still think that like if Matthews can, it's not an unattainable record that we thought it was after seeing Ovi do it, because it's like really what it takes, and I'm gonna make this seem like not a big deal, but it's just like you've got to have a generational goal scorer play like 20 years, and then it's doable.
And he's always had full health. Like Ovechkin's rarely had injuries in his career. Yeah. He's always been a playoff level type of team. Like he's always had pieces around him, like the Nicholas Backstroms of the world too, to help set him up. Right, it doesn't happen alone. Right. So I think that's an important part too. So and they've definitely, he's steered the ship there. Like that must be said. The Washington Capitals franchise is Alexander Ovechkin. Like he is that team's franchise. Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy. I've never seen like a team, just run through one player for so much. But fair enough, right? I think when you're breaking a goals record that many never thought would ever be broken, there's something to be said for that. There's also a track record too, where it seems to happen every 31 years. I think Gordie Howe broke it. Then Gretzky broke his 31 years later, and then Ovechkin broke his 31 years later. So I think by 2056, then I think the record will be broken. So, but it wouldn't be Matthews then unless he was still playing. I don't know. It might be somebody else.
Yeah, Matthews is still playing at the age of 60.
Yeah, no, I don't quite see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Washington Capitals being Ovi, it's just like, I don't know, man. Him and Crosby, I feel like, have just they've expanded the game in the way that like anything is possible, if that makes sense. Like what these guys have done over their careers has been like so insane. And dude, Ovi is just like such a dog. Like it's not just the goal scoring. Like he's always been super physical too, and fast, and just so exciting to watch. And then also you bring in the fact that he's just like this like scary Russian dude who just like drinks beers all the time. It's like,
I love that he's just slamming beers in his post-game interviews too. Like, just what an absolute legend. And just the fact too, like his diet is not like a lot of these guys, like the McKinnons of the world, have like this crazy strict diet where they're eating like chickpea pasta and stuff, like vegan things. And Alex Ovechkin's just like eating whatever. Like he doesn't care, man. He's slamming Cheetos and stuff and shit. And he's doing what he's doing. So you look at his body too. Like he's just a dog. Like Russian machine don't break. There's just something extra they have, man. I don't know. It's that, I don't know if that's that Russian vodka, whatever it's doing there. It's like it's driving them.
of the past like 2 decades, since let's say like 2004, 2003, where does Ovi sit amongst players with the most aura?
Oh, Alex Ovechkin. Ooh. He might have the most score, honestly.
You know?
Like there's, I think Patrick Kane Showtime has something to say for that.
Patrick Kane is there.
Like I'll bet Crosby and Ovechkin will always be a slight, and I'm talking very slight tier ahead of Patrick Kane, but they'll never have the aura of Patrick Kane. Like I just think Kane just has that extra clutch factor that like nobody else does. Just that Hollywood mentality. Like I think maybe I'm being biased there too as a Hawks fan. I don't know. I don't think that's really gotten talked about enough too. Like he's almost gotten underrated. I feel like he doesn't really get talked about enough, but he's still producing too at his age. But everybody's always glazing, Ovechkin and Crosby. Fair enough. I guess he's dealing with his hip situations too, but he's still playing well. He set his own little record too, 17 consecutive 20-goal seasons, most by U.S.-born player, but nobody seemed to care about that.
No.
He's 9 goals away from 500. Next season, he's going to become the all-time points leader amongst American-born players, and nobody's really talked about that. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. Hope Matthews might break that one day. Hopefully not, but he's quite literally the best player, American-born player of all time, but I don't know if he gets his props for that enough. Not to steer it away from Ovechkin here, but yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. I think he will next year when he does it. Yeah. I think we'll. Yeah. Which it's so good for the league that like these guys are still doing so much for the game at this point in their careers, just because through like breaking records and stuff, it's like
Crosby
they still
too.
Get so much buzz.
Like Crosby he's had a 20 consecutive over a point per game season in his career. Like he broke that record. That hasn't really gotten a lot of traction. Nobody's really talked about that too much. I think it just goes to show Ovechkin's he's kind of overshadowed everything because like, look, it's a big deal. Like nothing can top, breaking the goals record outside of maybe the points, but that's never going to happen. So it's a big deal. Like we said, like a lot of Gretzky's records, people just assume they'd never break. So the fact that now we're going to see Alex Ovechkin in history books at whatever he ends his career with, that's a big deal, a historical moment. Like you're always going to remember where you were when Ovechkin broke that goals record last afternoon. Like it's going to be one of those transcending moments that will be talked about in history books. That'll be a trivia question. So sorry, Sorokin, on that front. I also find it funny too. Ilya Sorokin never let an Ovechkin goal in his career. It's like 7 starts before yesterday, but now that's always going to be known for, even though he's a pretty good goal in his own right.
He did it on purpose. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. His Russian buddy there, they made a deal.
What do you think? I think we did enough. I think we did a lot on Ovi. I just want to make sure that there's like I'm not missing anything, and I'm not going to be kicking myself later for not saying anything about it. But at the same time, we're not going to do an entire hour on. What were you about to say?
Well, I think it'll be a quiet moment 2 decades from now when Connor Bedard will be breaking his record. Ovechkin will be in the suites there. I'm just joking. Even I'm not going to go down that road. I think Bedard's got to learn how to shoot the puck a little more if he ever wants to break that record. I think he has a shot to do it, but unfortunately he never really uses it. So maybe he'll go for the assist instead. I'm just busting your balls there, but
yeah, not a good start for Connor Bedard on his.
Yes, he'll just score 20 goals and he'll play like 40 years. He'll break the record, right? He'll have a Yager career on steroids there. He just loves hockey. That's what he does. He's programmed to play hockey, and there's nothing else matters. But yeah, I think you brought up Dylan Strome there, and like I just think the career resurrection he's had in Washington's been very nice. Like that's a guy I still root for. Obviously sucks to lose him for nothing, especially like that deadline too. It's like Davidson got quite a bag for Brandon Hagel, and obviously he's become quite the player in Tampa. But I still think that trade's gonna work out fine for us. We got Boisvert in those trades, so it's gonna work out fine. But Dylan Strome didn't get anything for him, just let him walk, which is kind of a shame. One of the few L's of his administration, I'd say. And he's become quite the 1C there. He's already amongst the top 10 players, too, that's assisted on Ovechkin goals, and that's after 3 seasons. He's kind of helped him get to that record. They're like, if you watch Dylan Strome play the last few years, like he's always looking for Ovechkin out there. He's passed up a lot of goals himself to set him up, and he's been doing so. A guy who's definitely had a late blooming career, but he's become the player people finally said he could be when he, 3rd overall pick in 2015. And I'm just happy for him. It's good to see him succeed there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might be rooting for the Capitals to come out of like the Metro for sure. And
yeah,
just because of this thing with Ovi, who knows?
It'll be good for the game. Yeah.
It would be really good for the game. It would make a lot of noise. They are a fun team to root for, honestly. And yeah, I've always liked Dylan Strome a lot. I don't know if they're going to have enough to get it done and to like win a Stanley Cup. But the Metro's so up in the air that like just with
that's
matchups
what makes it easier.
Stuff,
they have an easier route. Yeah.
You could see them in an Eastern Conference Finals like without a doubt this year, just because the route is not going to be too overwhelming for them. Even though I've said that I think that they're kind of frauds. I guess I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for them, but I'm doubtful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they have the storylines on their side, right? They have the vibes, right? And you can see with that team too, like the locker room interactions and stuff. Like they just seem to be such a unit there. McCarberry's a great coach. He's got all these guys, running on full steam ahead there. Like everybody seems to be playing their potential there too. They have the depth, so they have a lot of good things going for them. But that Atlanta division, man, is such a gauntlet. I feel like I'd take pretty much, maybe not Toronto, but I'd definitely take the Florida teams probably ahead of them. We'll see, though. I mean, Florida quietly has been pretty banged up lately. We'll see if they're healthy come playoff time, but they have been playing a lot of hockey. I think we keep assuming that they're the favorite, but maybe not, man. Like, we'll see in the playoffs that, that could easily change, and we see that the same Florida team we've seen the past few playoffs come to fruition there. But I don't know. Like, the way they've been looking lately, maybe it doesn't happen.
Who, with Florida?
Yeah, like, I'm just saying, like, maybe they're not, like... Maybe this is their downfall here. Like they've just been banged up so much of injuries. Like hardly any of the team is healthy right now. And it's like in the playoffs, like even if they come back, it's like a lot of these guys might be banged up and they've been playing a lot of hockey the last few years. They might finally come back to bite them. It might catch up to them a little bit. I don't know.
I think that Florida is going to be just fine. I have a feeling that they're not maybe as banged up as
they're just resting.
We think, yeah. I honestly do believe that. It's like you've been to the Cup and back to the Cup final in back-to-back years. You've played so much hockey. With the personnel you have, you're perfectly capable of getting back there. The only thing that can derail them is not being healthy. And so
they've been there, done that. Playoffs are a different game. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm just bringing up the point because I feel like we've all been assuming that they're the favorite. But that could be their downfall. Yeah,
you're right though. Yeah. It is a good point. Like if Matthew Tkachuk isn't ready to go, if Barkov is still dinged up, and you don't have Ekblad for the first 2 games, they probably shouldn't be favored to get out of the first round realistically.
Yeah. And they also have Seth Jones that back end too, so we have to take that into account as well.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to keep saying it. I just think it'd be really funny, too, with Seth Jones especially, just to make that trade look even better. Yeah.
But, geez, I mean, dude, they've got so many guys out. I'm just looking at their DFO right now. You got Cooley out. You got Matthew Tkachuk. You got Reinhart day-to-day, Sam Bennett day-to-day, Alexander Barkov out. Ekblad's obviously suspended. Like, dude, they're
that's what I'm saying, man.
Half their team's playing right now. Like I think it's purposeful, dude. I think they're okay with unlike Toronto like really needed to win the division given Toronto's history. Florida, I would imagine, did not feel like they had to finish anywhere. No,
I think like Tampa's had a better season. I think it's a better Tampa team than last year, but in a battle of Florida, like I still think Florida, takes the cake there.
Yeah.
I don't think that anything really changes there. And this Toronto team appears better. I feel like every year there's always this narrative of the Leafs every single season. Oh man, this year's gonna be different. There's something about this Leafs team this year that's different. And I don't know if I'm moved. I'm sure Tassos. I'm not sure if he would agree with that sentiment or not. Maybe he could jump in there if he's on another end.
About the Leafs.
Yeah, like, do you think this is the year that could be different for them, or do you think it's more of the same?
I don't know, man. The team is a little worse on paper. The decor is better. The goaltending is better. It's always it is what it's always been about, which is the top
core four.
The top guys on the team, right? Like Austin Matthews hasn't looked like himself this season. Mitch Marner's been arguably the MVP. William Nylander's like quietly like second or third in the NHL in goals, I think, right now. So can they all do it at the same time? Will they all do it at the same time? They have secondary scoring now, like Matthew Nyes and Bobby McMahon and some of these different players. I don't know. Florida's sliding right now. Like, Florida is totally sliding.
Because they're not playing half their lineup.
Yeah, but are they even going to... We're 5 games out from the playoffs starting. Like, are you going to get healthy before then, right? I don't know. To answer your question, Justin, I think the Leafs are in it. Like, they're in that mix of teams that can win the Stanley Cup, totally.
Okay.
And you need that self-belief to do it, but you can also, like... I don't know. You also have to like have the talent to be able to do it. They have the talent. They should think they can do it, but you have to be able to overcome it. So,
no, it's a fair point.
But I could also see them losing to the Ottawa Senators in the first round.
I could see that being a pesky first round matchup, man. There's a case there too, though, where it's like it's their first playoff run, right? So it's like a lot of these players are going to be adjusting that type of environment for the first time, right? Brady Tkachuk as well, but I just think that's a guy who's going to be built for that type of moment, man. I could totally see him going on a run here. I could see that being a Cinderella upset there. I don't know. It depends who they play a lot in that first round matchup, but I think you have to be in the situations to learn from them too, though. So we'll see. What do you think, Lee?
Dude, I hope like all these guys that we're talking about, like Brady too, like I hope all these guys are able to get healthy for the postseason, because we talk about like what the game has seen this year. Tassos, we talked about this like a little bit ago. I don't know if you were here or not, but just like going from the Four Nations and how big of an event that was for the game and for the league. And then you get this awesome milestone yesterday of Ovi breaking the all-time goals record. And it's like this playoffs could be the most exciting we've seen in years. And I'm just praying that injuries and guys being out does not derail that, because that would be such a shame if Brady and Matthew aren't ready to go in the first round and Barkov's still injured and Hiskinen's still out and Kaprizov's not back, and
Hughes is already out.
Yeah, Hughes, you've already got Hughes out. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I'm hoping that these guys are just being cautious and like are fine to go now, but are just not risking it. I'm hoping that's the situation for most of these guys. I'm not saying that it is. I'm sure of the names I just mentioned, a couple of those guys may miss some games, if not their entire team's run, but. Yeah, dude, I just feel like there's so much potential here for the league to have an amazing playoffs, and I'm just hoping that we're healthy for it.
No, for sure. Yeah, I think I like a lot of these guys is probably resting. I believe it more in the case of a team like the Oilers, like especially like guys like McDavid, Dressa. I'm sure at this point it's just make sure they're fully recharged and ready to go for the playoffs, especially because like their situation kind of runs entirely through those players, right? I think that's the thing with the Leafs too, where it's like I always feel the worry of them because it just feels like too often a lot of their odds rely entirely on 4 players. So it's like maybe this year they have a little more secondary scoring, like you said, guys like Nyes, who we'll see what happens with him too. I think he could be definitely. We talked about offer sheets a lot. I think that could be more of a thing this offseason after what we saw at the Blues last year of Holloway and Broberg, and that appears though to be a guy where it's like it depends what happened with what they do with Marner, right? They bring him back or not, be able to re-sign him. But it's like if they're not, they're gonna have a hard time bringing back. I could see teams offer sheeting a guy like Nyes.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
You don't think so?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so at all. Not with Matthew Nyes. Not with.
You don't think so? You don't think anybody would take that shot?
No, people might, but you got to assume from the Maple Leafs perspective, it's like that is the last guy you should be letting go.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying, like then that makes it tough for the Marner situation to make that both work, right? Yeah.
I think they would re-sign Nyes like right away. Like they would match the offer right away, any sort of offer. And also with Nyes, like the number is going to be really high, you know, like so that's a lot of compensation going. But we're talking your own first round pick. Maybe
and he's still got to want it to happen. Like he's still got to be like, yes, I'll go there.
Like for the Blackhawks, is Matthew Nyes worth next year's first round pick, second round pick, and third round pick?
No.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, well, maybe
if the first round pick is, you know, who you're probably putting out there. No,
I don't think, because I want to be careful when I said no too quickly. I don't think next year's draft matters at all for the Chicago Blackhawks, but I don't think that the management's going to feel the same way. And so, I doubt they're going to be wanting to shell out as much as they probably will be if he's getting offered a big number.
Just because of that Medicine Hat player, it's like you don't necessarily want to throw away your first round pick for next year, just in case next year goes terribly again. You want to have that, you know, insurance in place to be in the running for that, you know, Gavin McKenna.
Maybe if you get Marner and Nyes, it'd be worth it for the Blackhawks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like if Marner does get re-signed, that's kind of what I'm saying there. Is like, is it worth it if they re-sign Marner? You know, just going all hands on deck, throw what you can at Matthew Nyes, like for the offer sheet. Like, is that worth it?
I sent you guys like last week that I don't remember what post it was, but it was about the Maple Leafs like really wanting to sign Marner this summer. I don't understand how that happens. Like if Toronto gets bounced in the first or second round, I don't understand extending Mitch Marner. Am I crazy for saying that?
But also too, I don't think that really changed
so
anything.
Many times.
It's like they say that, like, oh yeah, the Leafs are going to be, you know, they want to re-sign him, but they said if the price isn't reasonably high. But it's like, I think the price is going to be reasonably high. So it's like, I don't really think that really changes anything there. Like, yeah, no shit, if the price is right, they're going to re-sign him. But it's like, you think Mitch is going to be asking for, I don't know, like 12.5, whatever. Like, I think he'd be probably asking for more than that. But maybe he does look for a Rantanen type of deal, and then they bring him back. But and then all that talk was all for nothing from us. We'll see.
Yeah, Tassos, if it's another disappointing postseason for the Leafs, like they can't do that. Like they can't try to run it back with Mitch, can they?
That's what they've been doing the last 8 years. Yeah. Oh no.
It just feels like you're like bashing your head in the wall and like expecting, you know, something else to happen. It's like, no, you're just going to keep getting headaches. I don't know.
So I'm just like, I'm doing some math here.
Okay.
The salary cap for next season is $95.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Maple Leafs have 62 of 95 currently tied up for next season. Okay. That is what? That's $33 million in cap space, maybe a little less. You could definitely get Marner at 13 and Nyes at 8, 8.5, 9, like under there.
And then what else for who else?
John Tavares.
Okay. Who else?
He could be the odd man out.
That's kind of it.
Well, somebody's got to go. That's the bottom line, right?
Maybe.
I say there's a situation where all of them could get. Yeah.
I mean, so all of them could stay.
But that provides zero room for anything else. Like you're literally running back the same exact team. Once again, when it hasn't worked, you're just losing the first round every single season.
I don't think. Yeah, that's why I don't think they would get rid of Nyes. Like they'd get rid of Marner before they got rid of Nyes. Like
he's a power forward. Like that's what they've been missing. Like Nyes is exactly what they need. And it's like Marner might be the better player right now, obviously, but it's like, you know, we've seen the same thing over and over again. It's like you need to make a change. Yeah.
So I think I think Marner's more of a realistic option than Matthew Nyes for sure.
Okay, fair enough. I was mostly just throwing it out there as a backup plan. Yeah, but
maybe. I mean, maybe, but the amount of things that need to go right, I think, for Mitch Marner to stay in Toronto is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. It basically relies on, you know, hoping that they fail in the playoffs again, which I don't think is an unrealistic expectation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Transitioning away to another Canadian team here. The Montreal Canadiens are on a hell of a run right now. They've won 5 in a row, and it's not, you know, set in stone at the moment, but right now they're 6 points up.
It kind of is. It kind of is.
It kind of is. Like, I don't think the Rangers or Wings are going on a late run here, and I don't think they're just going to suddenly collapse there. Lane Hudson passes Chris Chelios, Blackhawks legend, for the most points by a Montreal defenseman, rookie defenseman. So, that team's rolling right now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which, by the way, Lane Hudson taking the Calder away from Macklin Celebrini. He's doing the Lord's work over there. So thank you, Lane Hudson. Really appreciate you over there. Bedard, when he faced another rookie defenseman on tear, he didn't lose to Calder. That's just not what he does. He steps up in those situations. So unfortunately for Mr. Celebrini, no Calder for you. No soup for you, buddy. But no, hell of a season for Lane Hudson. Definitely steering the ship there in Montreal, and obviously Caulfield Suzuki connection as well. Another thing too, it's like if they make the playoffs, am I crazy for saying this? Well, like the KHL season is winding down, right? Like, is there a possibility that they could be getting Ivan Demidov for the playoffs? Am I off my hinges there? Yeah. Is that a thing?
I'd imagine it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I have no clue, to be honest, what the answer is. Like, if he could, like, legally.
Yeah. That's probably a next season thing with the
Yeah,
contracts.
I don't know if you want to try to throw a kid that doesn't speak English in your lineup for the playoffs,
Oh, he's pretty good, though. I don't know. I'm just thinking it's like an X Factor type of thing. Like, like the Caps, getting Ryan Leonard, obviously, at this stage. Like, that'd be pretty nice if they could just suddenly insert a guy like that in your lineup. But also playing your first games in the playoffs might be a bit tricky, Montreal especially. So I'm just throwing it out there. I might be off my hinges there, but probably next season. Wait for Ivan. Yeah.
I'm a little surprised with the wild card situation in the East. Kind of, I thought it was going to go down to the wire. To be honest,
kind of died now,
and it's kind of done. Like
the West too. Like we kind of had the playoffs figured out. It's really just seeding now.
Yeah. The only thing in the West that I'd say that like might be able to is, I know Minnesota is like 6 points clear of Calgary, but Calgary has 2 games on them and they play each other. So Calgary's next 3 games is basically their season, because they've got San Jose today, I believe, and then they have Anaheim, and then they have Minnesota. And so if they can win the 2 games against the shitty California teams, you go into that game against Minnesota probably only down 2 points. I guess maybe something could happen there. I don't think it's gonna. Calgary fucking sucks. I've always known they sucked. I knew they were not gonna make the playoffs since the start of the year. I was always right about that. But
they weren't one of the worst teams in the league, though. I'm pretty sure if you go back to those early season segments there, we all assumed, I think all of us, I'm not just throwing you in there, I think we all thought they'd suck. And they put up together a respectable year, but it's like, in the long run, when you're not making the playoffs, you're just ruining, chances of a top pick there. It's like, and you don't make it, does that really, is that really the season you wanted there? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Montreal, though, here grabbing this spot, it's looking like them versus Washington the first round, which
2010 rematch. Yeah.
Which I don't know. How do you guys feel about that matchup? Could there be a little upset there, or no? I don't think I don't think the Washington Capitals have been playing particularly good hockey as of late.
They've been distracted though, but you think that would probably end since they've got that stuff figured out now at the goal record. But I don't know. I know a lot of people over there like have been questioning too. It's like the way they've been playing going to the playoffs there. It's like if that continues, I wouldn't rule out an upset. I'm not saying they would, but I think they at least make the series interesting. I don't think it'd just be a sweep. They'd probably win a game or two. Yeah.
Tassos, that was a quick and firm no from you.
Yeah, they're not going to beat Washington.
Okay.
They're not. No. The goaltending, the Washington should have the edge in almost every which way in that series. So, I don't know.
I've seen this game before. A team that's been the first spot all year really hasn't had much to play for. Obviously they had the record, but, it's been kind of cozy up there, top of the standings all season. And playing against a team that's had to fight for every single game all season. Like these games have been playoff style games for the Canadians already the past little while. Like I'm just saying, man, like it wouldn't, there have been crazier things that have happened. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I wouldn't rule out a Montreal Cinderella run. We've seen it before. Yeah.
What do you think is more likely, that Ottawa upsets Toronto or Montreal upsets Washington?
Ottawa upsets Toronto just because it's the least.
Not even close.
That's what they do, man. The first round of the playoffs, like we've seen it before. They've won one playoff series with the Matthews Marner connection there. So in their entire 8 years there. So I'd say that would still be more likely. Yeah.
All right.
It depends if Washington wins the President's Trophy or not, or if the Jets do. I think if Washington wins President's Trophy, first round exit. There you go.
I think Montreal is more likely to upset Washington.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I do. I just with the run of games, I know we just got done doing a bit about how Florida's resting these guys and preparing for the postseason. But like, I don't think the Washington Capitals are like intentionally taking their foot off the gas here. I think that we're at the time of the year where everybody's, fighting for every inch, and they've had a tough run of games. And look, I think that if that team, like you start the series and they face a little bit of adversity early, I think there's massive upset potential, especially with the heater Montreal's been on.
Could be.
I'm even though I did just say I'm going to be rooting for the Washington Capitals this year, I could see this team getting beaten so easily. Like I can't imagine that they're like, I can't see them being down in a series and like coming back.
Yeah, there's also something to be said too, where it's like they're the one team that's not playing for any seeding because they have like a 9-point gap between them and the Leafs. So like they have that first spot in the Eastern Conference figured out there. So it's like, it's not like they're in the heat of some battle here, but that could also come back to bite them too. The fact that they haven't really had meaningful games outside of, getting Ovechkin his goal record.
Yeah. Whereas the Leafs have been playing a ton of meaningful hockey as of late,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the Leafs are going to be able to beat Ottawa in the first round. Like, I understand that Ottawa's like kind of maybe a scary opponent. The way they play is probably pretty good for playoffs, but it's like, this is their first year, dude. Like, I'm not going to take them to beat the Leafs in their first year.
Yeah, I mean, even the Panthers, too, it took them a while to get to where they are, right? It took them a few, disappointing playoff runs, to really break out there. So they try to emulate that style, and we'll see if it pays off for them there. But yeah, it's not a guarantee. But also, here's the thing, though. It's like Ottawa's only 2 points behind the Panthers, man. Like, they could pass them in the standings. And all of a sudden, it's Toronto versus Florida in the first round. That could happen.
That is crazy.
Isn't that wild to think Florida could be a wild card team? Like, honestly, without banged up there right now, it wouldn't shock me. It's like if I were Ottawa, I probably would rather play the Leafs than Tampa. But anyway, yeah.
Quick Calgary Flames point. So our beloved Flames here on CHR, they have fallen out of the race, although I will say that there is still a chance. They have 2 games in hand on the Minnesota Wild.
I did that bit.
And so I know. My question is, would you be open to extending the Calgary Flames tattoo bet for next season?
No.
What do you mean no?
What do you mean? I clowned them at the start of the year. I said that there's no way they make the playoffs. They started the year pretty hot, and I said, doesn't matter. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not good enough. I'll get a tattoo if they do. I wasn't talking about next year. I was just saying that this roster,
I'm talking about next year.
Yeah, no. There might be a situation next year where I clown some team at the start of the year and they end up being pretty good, and then we can talk about maybe some sort of punishment there. But I'm not just going to be like, yes, I'll get a tattoo once the Calgary Flames make the playoffs.
No, I didn't say
that's what
that.
This is turning into. By trying to roll it into next year, you're like, oh, I want to just keep...
We just really want to see our league get a tattoo on this show, clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. The answer is no. But we'll see next year. At the start of next year, I'm probably gonna have some crazy takes early on. As I do.
I think we gotta have a tattoo team every year.
A tattoo team every year. Yeah. Are you gonna be in on that, dude? I don't want to be that guy that just has like 4 fucking miscellaneous NHL tattoos, dude.
That would be something you would do.
One of them is tasteful and funny. 4 is like, dude, get a job.
You have a job. This is your job.
I know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, you also do the restaurant stuff, right? A bartender.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Nice.
So yeah, no rolling over the Calgary tattoo, but
no double or nothing.
Damn it.
No double or nothing. But we'll see what happens next year. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of punishments and stuff like that that's going on the show next year. Absolutely.
That's right.
Okay, what do we want to get into?
I hate talking about this blasted team, but like the longer this run goes on here, I feel like we're forced to talk about it. St. Louis Blues, 12 wins in a row, franchise record. I feel like we have to talk about that a little bit, right?
They could win a playoff series.
Yeah.
They've beaten the Avs twice now, like another really good, hot, loaded team. Whoa. Depending on the matchup, I could see them winning in upsetting a team in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to play the Jets round 1, which I think I've kind of had some similar thoughts about the Jets as the Capitals, where it's like, yes, you've had an insane regular season, but like show me in the playoffs. And like there's a bit of a difference there too, where it's like the Jets have been in these situations before. They've had great regular seasons and been an easy first round exit. They've quietly kind of been the Leafs of the West, but nobody's really talked about it as much because it's the Winnipeg Jets. You know, they're not the same type of media coverage around them as the Leafs, but you know, you got Connor Hellebuyck and Ned, who's had a hell of a season, but sometimes they had a hard time, you know, having the same type of run in the playoffs because they just rely on them so much. I think it's a better Jets team, right? They're not really, you know, trying to be something they're not like past years, right?
There's a pretty good chance. Sorry, not to cut you off. There's a pretty good chance they don't play the Jets. If the season were to end right now, they'd be playing Vegas.
Really?
Yeah. They just passed Minnesota. Minnesota has 91 points.
Oh, my
the Blues
bad.
have 93. No, it's fine. That's why I'm saying, like, I guess it kind of depends on the matchup, just because, like, yeah, it could be the Jets still, but it could be Vegas. And so I don't know which of those teams, if you're the Blues, you'd rather play in the first round.
Honestly, call me crazy, but I think I'd rather play the Jets than Vegas, because Vegas has been there, done that. I mean, they're only 2 years removed from a Stanley Cup, and this is kind of a similar type of team here. I feel like they're more built for a playoff run here, so I think I'd rather play the Jets. Honestly, I think that'd be an upset that could happen. I'm not saying it would, but the potential's there.
Just more unknown with the Jets, basically.
Yeah, exactly. There's something set for that. To be fair,
Tassos, do you agree with that too?
To be fair,
they'd probably rather be playing the Jets over Vegas in the first round.
I just think that the way they're playing right now, it doesn't really matter who they play. Like they're just, you know, they're gonna attack it the same way. Like Jim Montgomery's really, you know, turned the ship around there. It's not like I think Blues Vegas is an awesome first round matchup, and I think they might have a little bit of a better chance against the Jets, obviously, but.
Guys, we've never seen a team led by Jim Montgomery that looks like the regular season looks like they've just never losing any hockey games here, playing perfectly and losing the first round of the playoffs. Right?
This is a little different.
That's a different situation. I know. I'm just throwing out there. It's like this might not be what everybody thinks. I feel like they've been a popular pick by a lot of people. Where it's like, oh, they're not losing any games right now. It's like, but I've said before, it's like they might be picking at the wrong time right now. Where it's like you're using up everything you got right now. The playoffs are a different ballgame. It might not translate. I'm just saying. I don't know. It wouldn't shock me too if this was just an easy first round exit, but I'm hoping because it's the Blues. I don't want to see them go on a run here. That's no interest in that for me. But I have to acknowledge too that it could happen.
It is crazy how much has changed in just like the past month. With like,
we didn't even talk about this team at all like last month. Like, we didn't even consider them. Like we were always like, oh, it's going to be one of the Canucks or the Flames. So we were wrong, but not just us. I don't think really anybody was really talking about the Blues as a potential team there. But the Montgomery system has finally started to adjust there. It took some time. And yeah, he's definitely getting the best out of them for sure. Nice job, Bruins, letting him go. Really great job in that part.
Yeah, everything's clicking now. I don't know, dude. I just like, surely that team can't win like 2 playoff series though. You know, like I know it's been fun. Like, yeah, 12 wins is really impressive. Like,
are you taking them over either the Stars or the Avalanche? No. In the Central, no, absolutely not. I'm sorry. Like
or Edmonton, you know, like I'm not.
Honestly, like I've started to see the vision from Tassos. I know I've been all like, oh, regular season versus playoffs, it doesn't matter, but it's like it does feel though different for Edmonton this year, man, where it's like if McDavid and Draisaitl are another top 4, and it's like they're not really getting that same secondary scoring this year. I don't know. I'm just saying I could see it. And the goaltending has been so freaking bad. Like you need to have at least somewhat competent goaltending in the playoffs, and they don't have that right now, man. Like I don't know. I'm just saying, like it might be tough for them this year.
Yeah, but what if Leon and Connor are both going for 2 points a night? It doesn't really
even if they are, it's not a guarantee, man. That's what I'm saying. It's like you have to get other contributions. Like Zach Hyman isn't scoring 50 goals this year. Like Nugent Hopkins is. I mean, I guess he's played a little bit better lately, but he hasn't had the season he's had too. So it's like I think Corey Perry has like the 4th most goals in that team. Corey Perry. Oh no, I'm just saying this might not be what we think. You have to have the depth.
Is Corey Perry going to go to another Stanley Cup final and lose this year?
Now that I would love to see. I'd take that all day. I love watching Corey Perry lose in the Cup finals. Yeah.
How many is it now? Like, does it?
Let's see. It was
like
the Oilers,
the
Stars,
like
the Canadiens.
The Lightning
like
twice. The Lightning once.
Well, yeah, that's 4. He won once at the Ducks. That's it. Yeah, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
quite a run from Corey Perry there. Yeah, Blackhawks legend.
He's a bad omen.
He is. Yeah.
All right, boys. What else? Anything else we needed to get to? How was the slate yesterday?
Oh, it's been a pretty good day.
How's the slate tonight?
Yeah, let's look at the games tonight. What we got going on tonight?
St. Louis at Winnipeg is a good one.
Yeah, that could be a potential playoff preview right there, right?
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, for sure. See if the Blues can extend that franchise record there. Yeah.
Calgary has to win tonight if they want to.
Oh, they're playing the Sharks, so you think that's a bye, right? We'll see. And plus that the Sharks always able to outdo us in the tank race, so I think they're going to want to lose that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but then other than that, I guess that's kind of Oilers Ducks doesn't move me.
Yeah, I think the Kraken Kings is a snooze fest.
Lightning Rangers would have been a good game 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Rangers are done. Yeah.
Tomorrow's the better slate.
Tomorrow's a big slate.
Red Wings Canadians, the original 6 matchup. Like if you're the Red Wings, like that's your last chance. Like you lose that game, you're eliminated. Like that's it. If you're the Canadians, like that's probably the last one you got to win and you're in. So yeah, that'll be a good one to watch. Leafs Panthers as well. Another potential playoff preview there potentially. That'll be a good one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, now that like the wild card spots are a little less up for grabs, these last few slates are going to be pretty boring.
Vegas Avs too tomorrow night. That'll be a good one. Another potential playoff matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just these games mean a little less now. Now that it's like the last like handful of games, it's like you kind of know where you're at.
Yeah.
A lot of these teams aren't going to be leapfrogging anybody. So it's kind of just like,
these are kind of the filling games, right? To get to 82 and then the real season begins there. But no, I think just as we've talked about this more on the show today, it's like I think it just gets me hyped for these playoffs, like we said earlier. I think this has potential to be a banger, right? We could be seeing things that we don't expect, and I think we're going to see some fun storylines. Definitely good for the NHL to capitalize on the momentum they generate for the four nations. I think hopefully we see the playoffs. We'll be streaming a lot of games too, so it should be fun here. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely trying to stream a bunch of playoff games. And I think we're going to try to stream like every single Stanley Cup final game.
Oh,
too.
yeah, we got it. And I'll be there for that too. So that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, like, this will be our entire focus. Like once the Hawks season's up, because like we'll have some draft content to cover with the draft lottery. And, as we get closer to the draft and the offseason, et cetera, as news drops, right? But we're mostly going to be talking about the playoffs. So that's going to take up most of our coverage. I think I'm just looking forward to it. I think I'm kind of done with regular season hockey right now. And I think I'm just ready for playoff hockey to come here for sure. Yeah.
I'm too. I am glad though that the Blackhawks are kind of in a situation with all the young players that it's like still really worth watching.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad that we haven't like met our breaking point and like my God, I can't watch this team anymore just because of how much change we've seen on it just over the past couple weeks. So that's nice that we get to like not hate ourselves watching the last few Blackhawks games, but I do feel as though there's probably a lot of teams, including playoff teams that are just like the last few games here are like not super meaningful for some of these teams.
Yeah, no, for sure. As a Hawks fan too, like there's something to be said too, where it's like you still look forward to the playoffs, but it doesn't quite feel the same. Like I miss that feeling in my stomach watching those games, like that nervous excitement. I haven't really felt that way in a while towards hockey games, where it's like Hawks haven't really had a true playoff run since 2017. People talk about the bubble, different time of year, that was a different environment. Doesn't really count. Like no fans in the stands, right? They were kind of Mickey Mouse 2013, man.
It didn't feel real.
More teams. It didn't feel real. It was fun to get one more run out of Kane Tays, etc. But to beat the Oilers, that was fun. But it wasn't really true playoff hockey. We haven't seen that in 8 years. Kind of crazy. We've had a lot of long off seasons. I missed the shorter ones. And look, we're a ways away, but I think I'm just looking forward to getting back to that point. It'll be fun when the Hawks return to the playoffs, and we'll get to talk about it in the show. I think it'll be good. Maybe we'll see it sooner than we think. I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to happen next season, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. Yeah.
I'm also really excited to for once the regular season's done, it's like we've got the bracket for the playoffs and we know the matchups.
We're not just speculating on seeding.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then it's like, all right, now we can actually start to make some we're going to do some good segments and
some bracket challenges.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Some good content. Yeah. And also, I'm excited to bet. I haven't bet in a while, and I think I'm going to gamble a lot on this postseason, especially the.
Are you
round.
Really? What an absolute shocker that is! League garage and betting.
I haven't been betting at all for the past couple months. I've been laying off of it, and I'm just getting ready for the playoffs. That's all. I'm resting. I'm like
saving your money.
I'm like Alexander Barkov. Yeah, exactly. I'm saving.
You're LTIR. I can see what you're doing. I see the vision.
Thank
Very
you.
smart stuff. Yeah, I'd say one last thing from the games last night. This was kind of a funny moment. I'm always watching the Wings just because of Patrick Kane. There was this funny moment in the post game when he was talking to Bisonet. And Bisonet asked him about his hip situation, right? Or how you feeling with the hip, right? You think he could still play in the NHL for a while longer? And then Kane quit back. Like, I feel like you ask me that question every single time I'm on here. Basically just roasted the hell out of Biz. And I'm like, I think Connor Bedard would appreciate that watching. They basically have the same mentality. They're always roasting Biz. So I just want to give a shout out to Showtime there, Patrick Kane, for putting Biz in his place. Thank you very much there. Yeah.
I also saw Biz and Marchand going back and forth. I think that was pregame though. So yeah, funny stuff. Classic Biz being a goofball, asking dumb
we've
questions.
never seen that before, right?
Yeah. No. All right. Anything else, Tassos? Anything you need to get off your chest?
No. I'm good, fellas.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we had a good show.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out and chatting and listening. We appreciate you guys so much. Like the video if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are at 663.
I think we're at 664 now.
Okay.
No,
Tell a
got
friend.
one during the show. Very nice.
Tell a friend, though. Tell a friend to do all of those things. Subscribe and
Yeah,
follow us.
we have a goal. We want to get to 1,000 by, I think, the end of the playoffs, right? Help us get there, right? We'll be streaming a lot of games, right? Yeah, keep telling people about us, right? Keep sharing it around, right? Help us out. Help us grow this thing. And then next season, man, when year 2 of us doing this, already have a season under a belt of experience, it's only going to get better from here, just like this Hawks team. So, hop around for the ride now. Invest in stock now. The value's going to go up.
Yep. Buy early. You're buying early in the Blackhawks team. Buy early in CHR.
Streaming Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Be there.
Absolutely.
You could say you knew us when we weren't famous yet, right? There you go. Be the OGs.
Well, B-Hawks memes is already famous.
Oh, yeah, I'm already famous, but these two, I hope them get famous too, right? And everybody else too. Raven, the Gasser behind the scenes producing. Oh, not today. And then Tim Tebow over there too. Yeah, the whole team over here.
The
building
the whole CHR.
The whole
crew
squad.
is-
Spencer, the editor. I don't think have I left out anybody. I don't know if I have. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, no, just continue to do that. Streams this week, and yeah, boys, should be fun here. Only 5 games left, and then
the home stretch here, the final run. We got more content too, right? The social medias and all that. So stick around for that. Follow us there, and you'll see all that. We got a lot of fun stuff cooking, a lot of good ideas. So
yeah, follow the Instagram and the TikTok. We're trying to get creative as possible. If you've probably already seen. So we appreciate the love and the feedback on those posts, and even the slander when it's appropriate. So yeah, keep a lookout for that stuff too. Yeah, we're gonna be busy fellas for these next couple months here.
Did you talk about your skit on here?
A little. I did a little skit talk. I think what would be funny, a YouTube video that I thought of that would be really funny, but I think we need to continue to grind a little bit longer with the Instagram and TikTok stuff would be CHR reads mean comments. I think could be a really funny
That'd
video.
Be a great series. Yeah. Well, we get a lot of live chats, maybe not a ton of comments. Maybe on YouTube that is, but I think we get a fair amount on TikTok and Instagram. So I think we can probably do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but exactly. That's why I feel like maybe a little more Instagram, TikTok.
Especially about
content.
you.
Yeah,
People always
farm
slandering
some
you.
comments.
Always glazing me and Tassos, but you're always getting slandered.
People really did not like my jersey. Everyone was saying that my Connor Bedard jersey was fake, and it might be, but it's I got it from my mom for Christmas, So I'm I wasn't gonna be like, no, it's a real jersey. You don't know what you're talking about. My mom got it. It's completely likely that my mom just got
Who cares,
scammed
man?
and got
It's
it.
a Connor Bedard jersey. It's oh, you didn't pay $250 me to get the most perfect Bedard jersey. Which, by the way, I'll admit I did. I got the Bedard jersey the second it was available. I was at the watch party when he was drafted at the Salt Shed. I got the Bedard jersey right away.
Yeah,
I was there too.
I think
there
people
too.
You were there too.
Yeah.
I think people just get salty, the idea that I didn't get absolutely destroyed by Fanatics for their fucking $240 jersey.
No, you're not sophisticated like me, shelling out money for the most perfect jersey out there.
But yeah, the skit was fun. It was fun to make. It's cool to I was telling you guys this yesterday. It's cool to like think of an idea and do it, and then like have it be received well. We're just gonna have to get into our creative bag and try to.
Now we gotta do more of those,
kind
man.
stuff.
I gotta start doing some of that. Yeah, we'll do more when I get back there, and maybe we'll do some duo skits. Like there's some fun ideas cooking there. Yeah.
Absolutely, getting into the acting bag here at CHR. So
yeah, I think we'll be better actors than Connor Bedard there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe when Leah's famous, he'll be able to get the $240 jersey. I'm not going to lie, dude. I think no matter how much money I get, I'm always going to be using fucking, what are some of those sites? DHgate. I'm going to be a DHgate merchant till I'm in the fucking
Mr.
grave.
Cheap Man over there.
my Patrick Kane jerseys, my New York Rangers Patrick Kane jersey, that thing is fake as hell. That thing is faker than I don't even know. I'm going to have to wear that in a skit soon. Maybe that can rustle some feathers. People didn't like that I had the Bedard jersey on the ground. They were like, the jersey should never touch the ground. Dude, it's just so funny that like people get so like fired up
like
and
the
angry.
littlest, smallest things.
Yeah.
Like.
And dude, as someone who like I've like my whole life on social, like I've always been like a commenter. Like Tassos has talked about it on the show before.
Chronically online.
How like I'm always like I always comment shit like under different posts, and it's just funny to like put something out there and then just see all the things that I do that like make people really mad. It's kind of enjoyable. It's funny. I do enjoy it a bit. So. Yeah, some good stuff there. Hopefully we can get some more mean and angry comments. We need to start posting more videos of us like doing those ranking vids, but we need to be bad because people get so pissed off in those. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, rage baiters here. Yeah, I don't know. You could do that.
Yeah. I'll go
That's
full
your
heel.
Job, not me. Yeah.
I'll go full heel. Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We already did the housekeeping stuff, so please do that kind of stuff. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow for the stream against the Penguins.